Okay, so number one, here we go. Here are the things, and this is just a few actually. This film has many, many, many things that it's doing here, but these are just some of the things I want you to kind of take a look at. And because these things are things that you will not see in Pixar films, Disney films, pretty much any other kind of 3D animation, whether it's Blue Sky or anything from Sony, or every studio now is making their own animated films, but you won't see that here. So the stuff that they're doing in this Across the Spider Verse, like I said, is very graphic novel like, which is a new style of animation that's just coming up. So you can kind of see what you think. And as we go through this unit, at the end of this unit, what you'll be doing is writing an argumentative paper on which style you think is best and why, essentially. I will give you a prompt and stuff, so there will be a little bit more to it than that, but that's the idea. So as we're going through each week, you're going to kind of study a certain style, each of these different styles, and you'll get a lot of information about all of them, and then that will help you to kind of make an educated argumentative essay about this topic. So with Across the Spider-Verse, here are some things to look for. So number one, they use split screen, which means that's very common in graphic novels, but never used in animation. So this is a new thing where half and half of the screen is split, or you might see it even split into thirds. It might be vertical thirds. There might be triangular thirds. We're going to look at a bunch of that examples here in a minute. Also, using shapes in the background, that's a very comics kind of thing where there might be a star in the background or that kind of thing, just to highlight and emphasize these characters and their movements. Also, the use of words. So you're going to see like crash and bam and bang and all that kind of stuff. They're going to flash across. Some of them are so quick it's almost subliminal. You barely will be able to catch them. I had to keep stopping and starting to show you guys what they look like. We'll also be looking at using blocks of text, which is a very much a graphic novel kind of thing. When you have a block of text that has text inside of it that explains either a character or a concept. And we'll look at examples of that too. Also, this idea of the little squiggly lines for every time any of these spider men and spider women in this movie have that spidey sense. You're going to see squiggly lines that kind of indicate that. Also, many of these, the way that these slides look is very much like they're a painting. And so there's a certain style to that as well. And we'll look at that as well. Showing thoughts visually, you're also going to see some things like where Miles is going to look like he's invisible, or she's just thinking about him and she sees images of him like on a screen or something like that. And again, I'll show you examples of this, but it's an effective way to add a little bit of three-dimensionality and also to indicate thinking and thought in a way that's different than you might see in Disney, Pixar, and that kind of thing. Also, multi-layering, we'll see that's going to add three-dimensionality to where we might see lighting and different types of three-dimensionality. We might see blocks that might come up, and it looks like they're adding on layers. Again, I'll show you that in a minute. And finally, there's going to be definitely some relation to street art, which is where a lot of this is coming from. Street art, there's places where Miles is actually drawing street art, and his uncle as well. So we'll kind of look at that too, because there's a lot of tie-ins with all of the stuff we're seeing here, and graphic novels and all of that also tie-ins to street art as well. So here we go. So number one, the split screen, you can see it here. At the top is Gwen. This is the very beginning where she's very angry with her band and she kind of storms out. So we can see at the top, that's her and kind of how she feels. And at the bottom, we see the band kind of watching her as she leaves. So we kind of get this double image here, and we kind of get a better sense, or at least we get a richer sense of what's going on here. We get a sense of how she feels and how they feel watching her leave. Here's another split screen where you're going to see now it's more triangular, and it's going to show different snippets. This is, and you'll see this throughout this film, where it's showing different things, and it also just adds a little bit of interest because it looks kind of unusual to this particular story, where they can go in and out of things they can create kind of a hole, and then they can go in and out. Their hand can go in and out, people can go in and out, heads can go in and out, all that kind of stuff. So that creates this kind of thing. And also you can see that we'll talk about this more later, but we have the text in the background. So you'll see that as well. Okay, so next, here's another split screen, now vertical. So now we see him over here, her over here, and now we've got kind of what's going on and what they're looking at. So we see him looking in, we see her looking in, and we see what's going on. Again, it gives us different perspectives, and it adds to, it incorporates all of the characters and what they're seeing and gives a little bit of dimensionality to the whole thing. Also, like I said, using shapes, let's take a look at this. You can see here the use of circles, and even in the background, we'll see kind of these bubbles and that kind of thing. There's sort of, and the backgrounds, a lot of times you'll see have many, many different kinds of shapes, almost giving it a geometric kind of look. But you can see here her coming through those circles. It gives her a sense of motion, and it's three-dimensional, like she's coming straight at us. So it's kind of adds a little bit of, and it also, you can see that the colors are very neon, so they're very bright, intended to catch our attention too. So here too, this is a very much of a comics. This looks like a comic book, where we see Miles in the middle, and then we've got this star. You know, so it's adding this interest and just kind of giving it that comic book feel. Like I said before, there's also this sense of a use of words in the background. So here we see the word crash. As you know, as this action is happening, and it just sort of helps to reinforce what's going on here. We see a little bit of text here, and we also see this is very much a comic book kind of thing too, where you see this kind of grid style over the top of it. That again is indicating that. Here again we've got the words in the background, and the way that those are written again harkens back to street art and tagging, so it almost looks like tagging a little bit there. So now we're kind of going back to that style as well. Here we're also seeing exclamation points as he's flying backwards, so it sort of, those exclamation points kind of reinforce this idea of quick movement and of something exciting and dynamic. Here again, he or she, I think it's maybe she, cracks her sunglasses or glasses here. So we got the crack, and we've also got the shape, and then we've got this itself. And these are just quick little things, but they just help to reinforce. And it gives us a sense of not just the sound and not just the visual, but also the words. It just makes it so that we've got, again, this multidimensional depiction of what's going on. Again, we have it over here. So a lot of times you see this is very, very rich in color. We're looking at her here, but in the background there's sort of these words and things that kind of, sometimes they're not even necessarily real words, but they are more words that indicate how something might sound. So it's kind of so it goes along with, it's reinforcing the action and the sound and what sound this crash or whatever might make. Also using blocks of text to convey information. Sorry, my head here is going in the middle of it, but we see here there's this block of text, and it's talking about what hammer space is, which is something that they're talking about in that scene. So it just helps so that they can convey information to the reader. That's very, very much a comics and graphic novel style kind of thing. You see that all through graphic novels and comics. Same thing here. It says, I lead an elite strike force dedicated to the security of the multiverse. So here we've got another one of the Spider-Mans, and this is talking about what he's doing. This very much has a comic book style here. And then the Spidey sense, like I was talking about, when Gwen has her Spidey sense, when all of them do, they get these little squiggles. And it gives more, we can kind of almost feel it as we look at her, and we can kind of see, and we know immediately that she's got that sense because we can see those little squiggle lines. And they're also colorful, so it goes along with, and it matches the color of the scene. Also, many of these looking like paintings. So like I said before, this definitely has kind of a painted look to Miles here, and the background too is it looks painted on, so it gives it a different style. You're going to see multiple styles and multiple worlds. You'll even watch a video about that in one of our weeks here, but anyway, this is just that style. You'll also see it in transitions. This is a transition, and you can see it's almost like the painting is happening as this transition is happening, which kind of gives it this cool look as if we're seeing the artistry happening before our eyes. Here also you can see looks like a watercolor painting, and she's hugging her dad here, and the light, the golden light there is showing the love between them. So not only do we have this sort of watercolor painting look, but we also are using lighting here to convey emotion. And then showing thoughts visually. Here, like I was saying before, she's thinking about Miles here, and he is invisible in some of these scenes, so we can also show invisibility here. We've also got kind of the circle and the circle here, which draws them together, and she's going upward, he's coming downward, so it kind of matches each other and balances them out. And we see the matching of colors. It's all blues, pinks, and reds and that kind of thing, so all of those colors match up. Same thing here. We've got Miles. He's invisible here, and we've got all of these colors and everything going together with him there. And here is where I was talking about where she's thinking about him and he is kind of in the background here. So it just conveys this idea of thinking. And that's another thing that graphic novels a lot of times do, which is to convey those kinds of things like thoughts in a visual way. And that's kind of what they're doing here. Also, we can see showing thoughts visually through light, because she is bright here and almost there's like a glow around her, which almost makes her seem computerized, but that brings her into the forefront and makes her seem three-dimensional. It makes her seem like she's in front of the stuff that's in the background. But we also see Miles here, and again, he's upside down and she's front side, so we look at her face, that's the focus, but we've got these things in the background that give us sort of an idea of the other things that are going on. Multi-layering, let's take a look at that as well, which is these are white and a little bit more square and rectangular, but these are kind of not quite fully formed, and this looks like it's coming out of this phone looks like it's coming out of it. So again, building on the multi-layering here and making for some interesting looks. And finally, like I said, there is a relation for sure in a lot of this to street art. And in fact, Miles and his uncle both doing street art. So if we see this here, they're actually painting street art and stuff like that. And you can see how the street art also contributes to the look of this film. So yeah, so that is basically it, guys. But I do want you to, take a look over the next couple of weeks. We'll be looking at how Across the Spider-Verse and Into the Spider-Verse, that's the first one. This whole series, there's one more coming, is really creating a new style of animation that is very innovative and modern, and audiences are loving it. Across the Spider-Verse doing really, really well at the box office, and is, really highly critically received. So thanks, you guys.